Hi, I'm Carla Cannon, and I have a special guest with me today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Naomi Ann Cannon.
And how old are you, Naomi?
8 years old.
Naomi will be 9 in September, and she is going into
4th grade.
Yay, very exciting. So I brought Naomi with me today to talk to you about nature study, which we incorporate into our morning time. One thing that we do as part of the nature study is we have been keeping a
nature journal.
Yes, a nature journal, and it's not something we've been super consistent with. And I've always wanted to have a nature journal, but for some reason I built it up in my head as something more complicated than it really needs to be. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about nature journaling in general, but Naomi wanted to show you some of the pages that we have done. So this is our book. It is just a kind of like a 3-ring binder, but it was, I think, a kid's scrapbook type one that someone had given us a long time ago. And we kind of take it kind of like a scrapbook approach. So there's our front page. And Naomi, why don't you tell me some of the things that you like about nature journaling?
Well, it's really fun, and it has so many different memories in it from what we've seen and done, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's a good way to write and everything. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's been fun for us is looking back over it, because then, like Naomi said, with the memories, it is fun to see things that we've learned about or seen on a nature walk in the past, and it's just kind of a fun way to go through it when it's something that we do together, so that makes it special too. So we kind of take a scrapbooking approach to it. A lot of people do a lot of drawing in their nature journals, and we do a little bit of that, but we're not big artists in our family, so we do more pictures and cut them out and paste them in, and that seems to work really well for us. So here is some examples of some things. This spring we went on a camping trip to Drumheller. So then we cut out some pictures, I'm not sure if you can, some pictures of us at the hoodoos. And while we were there, Naomi and I, well, all the kids really, we learned a little bit about how the hoodoos are
formed.
Yeah, how the hoodoos are formed. So that was kind of fun. Daddy had to make a pit stop at Walmart, so we watched a movie in the truck as we were waiting and learned about how hoodoos are formed. So then, for our nature journal, what we did is we just took some pictures, as you can see, of the kids at the hoodoos, and then when we got home, Naomi wrote a little bit about how they're formed. Also, when we were there, we did some paintings of the Badlands and hoodoos, so that was my son Nathan, and this one was Naomi's, and I got to do one too because I think it's more fun when we do it together. So kind of what we were trying to show was how there were the different layers of the rocks. So that was kind of an example of what we did from our camping trip. Another thing that we did when we were camping is we noticed that there was 2 main types of trees. Remember the 2 trees, Naomi?
The poplar and the elm.
The poplar and the elm. So then when we were out one day just kind of hanging out, we did this. Remember what that's called, Naomi? The Venn diagram. And we kind of used it, I just kind of rough jotted it down when we were camping and then printed this out when we got home, comparing the elm and the poplar tree. And then this is kind of the first page we did. This is the poplar, and so we took a picture of a poplar, and then the bark and the leaves, and did a leaf rubbing, and pressed some leaves and put that in, and then we did the same thing for the elm. Took a picture, did the leaf rubbings. Naomi, while we were camping, wrote just a little bit about elm trees, and that was another page. Something else that we've done is we've talked about erosion recently, so there's some pictures of examples of erosion, and my 6-year-old wrote the title, and then Naomi wrote kind of a definition of erosion. And so that was kind of neat. And then we also do things at home, like what's the name of the website we've been doing, Naomi?
Mystery science.
Yes, mystery science. And what have we been learning about in mystery science?
Plants.
Yeah, plants and seeds and how they grow. So using the Mystery Science website, we did the experiment with the radish seeds, and we tracked those over the course of 4 days. And so that was kind of neat. That was Naomi's drawings, and these were Nathan's. And then Naomi kind of wrote a little bit about seeds and what they need. And then we just made this little book this morning. There was day 1, day 2, and then flap it up, day 3 and day 4 of our radish seeds. So that's just a really rough look at some things that you could do. We like I said, we like to do lots of pictures, and then we talk about it, and then Naomi will do a little bit of writing about it, and that works really well for us. So that is kind of a rundown on our nature journal. Naomi, do you have any last words before you sign out?
Yeah, you should really try doing a nature journal at your house. It's a lot of fun. I think your kids will really enjoy it.
And that is some great advice from a smart and beautiful young lady. If you are wanting to incorporate some nature study into your morning time or your homeschool day, but aren't quite ready to take the plunge with a nature journal, there are lots of other things that you can do. And I know the idea of a nature journal overwhelmed me at first, but truly it can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I mean, it could just be a binder with some pieces of paper that have been hole punched that have a picture that your kid has drawn of a leaf or a stick or a bug and the date and a sentence about it. I mean, it can be that straightforward. And I think the idea that it needed to be more or needed to be complicated, it made me feel frozen for a long time, and I wish I would have started this sooner. And we have done more than just keeping it super basic, but it's because it's been fun for Naomi and I. And I think depending on your kids, if it's fun to make it more scrapbooky, then you could, but if it's making you not want to do it because it seems overwhelming, then just start simple, and there's still so much benefit from just doing a really basic one. The first thing I would say to do if you are wanting to incorporate nature study into your homeschool is to listen to the podcast that I'll link below this video, put out by Pam Barnhill, the Your Morning Basket podcasts. And in that, she does an interview with Cindy West that is excellent. It is so good. I was so excited when I listened to it because they really make the idea of nature study simple. She has things that you can do without even leaving your house if that's how scared of nature you are. Things like observing what birds come to a bird feeder and from your window and just jotting it down or looking it up what the birds are, or observing a tree or a bush over the course of the 4 seasons. You know, check in on it once a month or once every other month and kind of see how it changes. And over the course of the year, that would be really neat. You know, it'd be neat to see how it is in winter, spring, summer, fall, all the different seasons. So just some really simple ideas like that I won't get into because really the podcast lays it all out for you. And so definitely check that out. The other thing I did is Cindy West, who's a homeschooling mom herself, has a website with lots of products you can buy. And I only so far have gotten this one, but I've been really happy with it. And I just printed it out as a PDF, but 100 easy and fun creative nature walks. And this has been perfect for me, especially with it being summer and we're outside. And for me, just to go on a nature walk, I mean, we like to go for walks, so that's fine, but I do better when I have a purpose. And so this had some really neat ideas of things that you can do that are simple, they're not complicated, you don't need any tools, but just kind of some more purpose-driven nature walks instead of just walking, which is perfectly fine too. But it's sometimes fun to kind of have a mission, and my kids have really enjoyed it. And then in addition to the ideas for nature walks, she also has ideas kind of built in there if you wanted to take it a step further, something that you could jot down in a nature journal or do a little project with. So this is really fun. Again, it's by Cindy West. And then I saw on her website that she also has some really great looking units on things such as trees, ponds, I think a winter one, and they're just PDF downloads around $10 about, nothing, you know, not a big cost commitment. And I haven't tried them yet, but when I'm ready to dig deeper into something, then I'm definitely going to check those out because I really have enjoyed just this simple nature kind of walk book that she has, and it's been fun for us. How we've incorporated nature study into our morning time is basically we do the reading kind of portion of it in the morning with the rest of our readings. I always like to have with our read aloud portion some type of nonfiction book, and that varies widely what we do, but I really like incorporating, you know, if we're doing something nature-y. I've talked about her before, but Gail Gibbons, and so we just have recently read this one. Once again, beautiful illustrations and just a nice amount of information on each page for kids, but it's really good facts that she has, and I always walk away from these books thinking, oh, I didn't know that. So that's kind of how we incorporate it into our morning time, is we will do our reading, we'll do our discussing. Lots of times, you know, if we're doing mystery science, or if I have like a short YouTube video on something, then we'll pop that up during our morning time, and that's kind of how we make nature study part of our morning time. But you could do it any time of the day really, but that's how it kind of, that's how I make sure that we get to it in our house. Something that I'm thinking about doing in the winter when it's not as easy to get out and there's, you know, being Alberta, you can only observe snow and snowflakes for so many times before that gets old. So I have a nice homeschooling mummy gave this to me, and I'd already been looking at it online, the Burgess Animal Book for Children by Thornton Burgess, and I love his stories, and so we haven't read this one yet, but you can get it for free on LibriVox, and I'll put the link down below. And so we'll probably do it as an audiobook, and it kind of is a story, but it goes through all different types of animals and their habitats, and, you know, gives a little bit of information. And then this particular edition has some of his pictures, or some pictures in it, not tons. So we'll probably end up listening to it and then referring to the pictures. Just FYI, if you go onto Amazon and you go to buy one, I had bought this one and it was really cheap and it had no pictures, so I wouldn't recommend this one. Nature study is a big part of our science curriculum. We don't really follow a curriculum, but it's a big component of it. And it is just amazing to see how much the kids learn just by taking the time to do some observation and have some really good discussions about it. And look, you know, we all have smartphones almost. And so, you know, when we're out and about and they say, well, how is a hoodoo formed? We look it up. Or my parents had robins that built a nest, and so my dad, you know, the kids had questions about robins, and he pulled out his phone and started answering them, and answering their questions, and I jotted down some of the information, and we'll add a page in our book about robins. So I think it can happen in a very organic way, and it's a really fun way, especially in the summer, to work in a little bit of writing, a little bit of learning, but it's very low-key, and it doesn't even feel like schoolwork. It's just some fun project that you're doing together. So yeah, get outside, go for some nature walks, jot some things down, and I hope that you have some really fun nature adventures with your kids.